VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And we do thank you for joining us on Crosstalk. Ladies and gentlemen, for 10 straight days, the United States has acted against Iranian military targets as Iran has tried to stop traffic through the Strait of Hormuz and has targeted U.S. military installations in neighboring nations, claiming the lives of U.S. service members. U.S. Central Command posted this. U.S. forces struck Iranian military command centers, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial vessels flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, it's reported that Iran has been moving nuclear bomb-making equipment underground. Folks, where is this headed? Meanwhile, the IDF is building a 14-mile earthen barrier as part of a high-tech security zone to prevent future terrorist infiltrations from Gaza. This even as reports have come out that Hamas has a plan to carry out October 7-style terrorist attacks against Europe. And at home, here, over 100 House Democrats voted to block billions of dollars in military aid to Israel. The mayor of New York City has spoken of arresting Israel's prime minister when he visits the United Nations to speak. And speaking of New York City, under the leadership of this new mayor comes many new acts of anti-Semitism. Well, joining us today as we speak on these and related issues, we welcome back Dr. Richard Schmidt, who is a pastor of Union Grove Baptist Church, founder of Prophecy Focus Ministries. He is a speaker on the weekly TV program Prophecy Focus, which all of you will have access to through vcy.tv. Also has a program Prophecy Unfolding. He spent over 3 decades in law enforcement. He is now pastoring. He's authored several books, including Are You Going to a Better Place?, Daniel's Gap, Paul's Mystery, Tribulation to Triumph, The Olivet Discourse, Globalism, The Great World Consumption, Artificial Intelligence, Transhumanism, and the De-Evolution of Democracy, and the Coming Millennial Kingdom. Dr. Schmidt, thanks for joining us here today on Crosstalk.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Let's get right into the issues. Many warned that the terms of the peace deal with Iran, the ceasefire, would never hold up. I mean, how do you deal with a regime that vows death to you? And Iran repeatedly violated the terms. Tragically, the names of 2 U.S. service members just released, killed by Iranian drone strikes, 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez, 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Fian. The ceasefire did not take very long to fall apart at all. If you would just bring us up to speed on what's all happening here.
Well, again, you said a mouthful there. The issue that started, of course, back on February 28th when the war began with Iran and Israel and the United States. And, of course, this has been up and down, and the negotiations have been going back and forth. But here's the thing, just I think that we can encapsulate everything that's happened over the last multiple months. I think our government is finally getting a clue that you cannot make a deal with terrorists. And Iran has been, of course, they've been fixed in what they believe. They've been going back and forth with false negotiations. Everybody in America, as well as around the world, has put some stock at the beginning of this memorandum of understanding was written. But I think me and you, the last time we talked about it, we were very clear on it that in all probability there's no way it was going to take effect based on not political issues but religious issues. Iran is a Muslim nation. They're going to go by the Quran, and that's what's causing the massive amount of conflicts now. So just to get us up to speed real quickly, what's happening is, of course, the MOU broke down, the Memorandum of Understanding. President Trump finally came out very strongly, calling them, in his words, quote-unquote scum, and that you couldn't trust them. And I wouldn't maybe want to use that word from a Christian perspective, but the fact is the Quran allows them to lie in order to get what they want. It's part of their philosophy or their religion. So it's no surprise that things have broken down, and now the war is once again escalating. Again, Iran has, their military has been significantly depleted, but the IRGC, the Islamic Republic Guard Corps, they still apparently have got some pretty good weaponry because they've been causing havoc in the Gulf states. So, again, the war is now active again, even though Iran is somewhat neutralized. The group, the IRGC, appears to be doing a fairly good job of causing massive disruptions in the Middle East.
Yeah, and on that issue, I mean, the major military assets of Iran, we were told early on, all these ships are sunk, we've done away with their air firepower, etc., and yet appears that there's no end to their drone capabilities, as evidenced even by the multiplicity of launches, the deaths of U.S. service members as well. Do we have any idea? It seems like it is endless, their supply of drones.
Well, it does appear that they can mass produce these very, very quickly. You hear numbers even from Ukraine and Russia and, of course, in the Middle East. They look at producing 1 million drones a year. That sounds like crazy, but they're apparently extremely easy to produce, and obviously Iran has resources, and they are able to produce a massive amount. So again, as you started out with, there's numerous different places have been attacked just in the recent days. We're talking about Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and now we're seeing issues with Jordan and other places, Oman and Yemen. It's unbelievable the amount of disaster that's taken place in the Middle East right now.
There's also some reports that Iran has been moving their nuclear centrifuges underground, and we've also been seeing references to Pickaxe Mountain. Very concerning, and especially since it's Pickaxe Mountain. They've said is not going to be susceptible to a bomb from a bomber, a B-2 bomber, like we saw happen back some many months ago.
Right, and this particular one, this Pickaxe Mountain, is apparently very, very deep within this mountain structure. So, again, the satellite imagery and so forth, we're getting a little bit of intelligence, if you will, regarding it. But these bunker buster bombs, quote unquote, that the United States has, and they did use to attack 3 other nuclear facilities, they're talking about if they can even get to them with these bunker busters bombs, that it's going to be difficult. So can they maybe close down the entrances to them, which I think is what their current strategy is? Potentially, will they actually be able to get to where the production is taking place? Well, that remains a mystery.
Mm-hmm. We're talking with Pastor Richard Schmidt today, and certainly the turmoil in the Middle East, it's heightening here at this point again as the exchange of fire taking place, firepower that is. And again, I wonder how the United States can actually negotiate with a regime that wants our destruction. They unveiled this large billboard in central Tehran depicting President Trump dead in a coffin. They've called for his killing. They've called for the killing of Israel's prime minister. And taking this further, the Daily Mail reported that portraits of President Trump, his wife, and his children have been placed in Palestine Square right behind U.S. flag-draped coffins.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. They're absolutely horrifying. I would think to the family of the president. You've got to think about this, okay? When the Bible makes it very clear that if you're going to live by the sword, potentially you're going to die by it. And we, of course, support our American president, and we want him to succeed in this effort to, if you will, stop or at least diminish the effects of terrorism. But if we've got to be straightforward, if you're going to pick up arms and you're going to take out some of their leadership, which, of course, between America and Israel, the top leadership in Iran was taken out. When you talk about Khomeini being killed and so forth, they want revenge in the worst way. So, yes, there are, as has come out in multiple different reports from the FBI, the CIA, and so forth, they are targeting President Trump and his family, as well as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel. And they are, and no pun, and I guess we should say pun intended, they are dead serious about this.
Yeah, indeed. And wishing the deaths on many other members of, our Senate, House, secretaries, cabinet members And matter of fact, the Islamic Republic of Iran just celebrated the death of U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham as well. One news anchor host in Iran smiled broadly and said, "This news is so sweet, I'm reading it through twice."
Right. It's the hatred there for our government, of course, is massive. It is interesting, and of course, there was speculation when Lindsey Graham died. I mean, okay, he's overseas, and all of a sudden he's on a plane immediately when it was found out that he returned home and died. There was a massive amount of conspiracy theories immediately. I mean, I heard them all over the radio. I had people at our church that were like, well, Lindsey Graham was targeted and killed by who knows. Well, again, we do not know what happened. Literally, it appears that he actually did have a heart condition, which he died of. And again, that's the family story, and I guess we have to accept it. But it is interesting that Lindsey Graham, President Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu were the three top individuals that were on their hit list. And, of course, Lindsey Graham is no longer with us. So it is interesting that are they going to have a literal access to these individuals, and are they going to literally come after them? Unfortunately, that remains to be seen.
Senator Graham, a very strong supporter of Israel.
He was, and everything I've read about him, he was a believer in Christ. He was a Christian, and he had a testimony, which I have read in several different sources that he had. So the one thing I want to say is this. When it comes to our Christian biblical standards, a biblical worldview, the Bible says it is appointed unto man once to die, and then the judgment. Well, appointed, I believe if God wanted Lindsey Graham here, he would still be here regardless of whether the terrorists were after him or not. So from a Christian standpoint, him being a believer, it appears that the Lord just wanted him home more than he wanted him here.
Friends, you're listening to Crosstalk on VCY, and Pastor Schmidt, we keep hearing of all the U.S. strikes against Iran, but we're hearing very little about Israel and Israel's involvement against Iran here at this time. Of course, they've got some other battles we'll be talking about as well, but why are we not seeing that joint strike from both the U.S. and Israel upon Iran?
Well, it's very interesting, and I've read some analysis regarding that. It appears Iran is being very, very selective in where they're sending their missiles and their drones, and one of the places they are not sending them is Israel. So they're literally not attacking Israel at this point. The speculation is, and again, we can only speculate about what Iran and their leadership is thinking, they are doing everything they can to diminish the ability of the United States, as well as, I'm sure, various ways that the surveillance is done by Israel in different countries that we'll say are part of the Gulf states. So it appears that Iran is coming with a vengeance after all of the military apparatus, including America's, in the Gulf states, so that if and when they decide to attack Israel again, and I should say when, not if, they come after them, a lot of the defense systems, hopefully from Iran's standpoint, will have been diminished. They know if Israel comes after them, they're not going to play games. Benjamin Netanyahu has made that very clear. So I think they're just biding their time until the time that they feel they can hold Israel off is coming.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. Pastor Richard Schmidt, our guest today, as we talk about the continuous turmoil in the Middle East and where this all is headed. We'll be back in 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, how are stars formed?
Chris, evolutionists say that each star condensed out of interstellar clouds of gas. But think about it. How could this happen? Remember, space is a vacuum, and gas in a vacuum would be sucked out in all directions. How could this gas become so dense that it would collapse by its own gravity? The pressures pushing it out would far exceed the gravitational pressures inward. There have been a number of evolutionary suggestions to get the process started, but all of them start with stars in the beginning. They say that a nearby exploding star might send out a pulse of energy that would condense a cloud of gas, but the question is, where did the stars come from in the first place? Not how do stars in rare circumstances form other stars? The Bible says that God created stars on day 4 of creation week, and the evidence fits that back to Genesis truth.
This is Chris O'Brien. Thanks for going back to Genesis.
Pastor Richard Schmidt with us here today on Crosstalk. He is pastor of Union Grove Baptist Church, Union Grove, Wisconsin. His ministry, well, you can access it through prophecyfocus.org. prophecyfocus.org. We were just talking about Israel and Israel quiet as far as strikes against Iran, like the U.S., of course, has been having this surge of strikes that have taken place here. Many of the U.S. interests have been targeted at this time. But speaking of Israel, it's reported that a top Israeli official has announced that she has already signed an agreement with the son of the late Shah of Persia. And I'm speaking of Gila Gamliel, the Israeli Minister of Innovation, Science, and Technology, who just posted last week on X that she has already prepared the Cyrus Accords with the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi.
Well, it's very interesting. I read that story as well. And what are the Cyrus Accords again? Well, we don't have the details on this, but there are people, obviously, in Israel that want to get some type of peace with Iran, and they're looking at, I guess, what we talked about a little bit earlier, a regime change in Iran. So, in other words, the Khomeini crowd, those that are hardline Islamic terrorists, those that are following, if you will, jihad and the Sharia law, if something doesn't change, if they don't change the leadership, if Israel cannot somehow find a peace path with Iran, there's got to be this apparent regime change in the future. So again, this is interesting because Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is the guy that's going to sign the documents if they're going to be effective. But it's interesting now that there's pressure within Israel to make this peace happen. So let's be honest, do I have a strong hope that's going to happen? My educated guess is not going to happen.
So Israel seems that the only real path forward in all this is for a regime change to take place. Do you think the U.S. has that same resolve? It seemed we did early on. We talked about it.
Well, again, President Trump, when he first came out and the goals that he had for the war, he never talked about a regime change. He had multiple other points, and actually 14 different points, and that was not one of them, even though then after some time, and I think a lot of his advisors were saying, listen, with the current regime in there, with their current Islamic Sharia law and jihadist attitude, if there's no regime change, you're going to keep beating your head against a wall. Mm-hmm. Again, we have seen that. He puts the MOU in place. Obviously, it didn't happen. Nobody literally followed it, including America and Israel. And now they're seeing, listen, if we don't get something changed in Iran's leadership, which has not happened yet, there's no hope for a peace.
It seems no one knows the whereabouts of Mujtaba Khomeini. There has been speculation as to his whereabouts. Do we have any confidence that he is the one that is actually directing anything, including these strikes?
Well, again, for those that don't know who Mujtaba Khomeini is, if that's a new name to you, he was the one that was to take Khomeini's place, which was his father.
Ayatollah. Mm-hmm.
Right, the Ayatollah Khomeini. So the issue being, is this individual really alive, or is somebody just using his name and putting out statements allegedly from him? Totally unknown at this point. I mean, there's literally nothing. Nobody has documented that he's actually alive. But if he is still considered the head, regardless of whether he's dead or alive, and those that are in power are still using his name, the regime is still in place, regardless of whether he's literally alive or not.
And what about the impact of the IRGC, the Guard Corps? It seems they are the ones at least instituting these strikes. Can we negotiate with an IRGC in existence?
Well, again, the IRGC, and for those that aren't familiar with the acronym, it's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This group is really what's making Iran tick right now. They are a very strong terrorist group. They have a apparently a very good stock of weapons, because it is literally the IRGC that is making the attacks. Who did they attack just in the last couple of days? Iran. They took out their civil air. Jordan, they attacked the Aqaba airport. Kuwait, they knocked down their desalination system. At least that's what's reported. And they've even taken shots at Syria. So, again, the IRGC, they're going after the American bases, if you will, in Iran, Jordan, Kuwait, other places, trying to get rid of some of our surveillance issues and some of our power as well, to try and knock down America. Now, are they going to knock down America? Answer is no. But are they trying, if you will, to mitigate some of the responses towards Iran? The answer is absolutely yes. They are powerful.
There is still talk going on the selling of F-15 fighter jets to Turkey, and there have been a number of nations that have warned about this and have been very concerned. Though Turkey is part of NATO, yet Turkey has not had the best relationships with Israel either. Or if Turkey would turn, could use those fighter jets against even the peoples who are providing them for them. Your thoughts on these F-15s?
Well, again, I'm going to come at it from not only a political standpoint, but a common sense standpoint. I have no idea why Turkey was allowed to come into NATO. I have no idea why we are, as Americans, trying to make a deal with people from Turkey. It is a major Islamic Muslim country, and they have no interest in supporting America or Israel, even though they may say so on paper. So, I mean, personally, of course, my counsel to the White House is nil, and if they're not going to listen to anything that I say. But to me, it's just absolutely amazing that we would even consider doing this with a country that is aligned with, if you will, Sharia law, jihadist type activities, and very strong Muslim, meaning what? They hate America and they hate Israel.
Yeah.
You can't deal with them.
Are we seeing any European nations coming in to assist the United States or to take a stand against Iran?
Well, again, nobody wants to spend their money to help the America, which they believe is more money than they know what to do with. Even though we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, we appear to have a lot of money and a big economy, and the government money keeps coming in, and the taxes keep going up. So they feel America is very sustainable by itself, and why should they spend their money if America's going to do the job? So again, President Trump has made it very clear he's very upset with many of the different places in Europe and so forth that have not jumped on and helped. And he's made it very clear with the Strait of Hormuz, he is anticipating, probably hopeful, not sure it'll be fulfilled, that some of these European nations that are getting their oil through the Strait of Hormuz are going to kick in. But that remains to be seen as well.
Talking about the Strait, there's been a whole lot of talk regarding the Strait of Hormuz and the blockades and so forth. But the Houthis reportedly are trying to carry out a maritime blockade of Saudi Arabia along the Red Sea coast. We have the Houthis and Saudi Arabia exchanging attacks right now as well. Let's bring them into the picture.
Well, what's known as the Arabian Peninsula, there's two different ways you can get your oil out. So, again, if you have to travel all the way across Saudi Arabia, you're using tankers, trucks, whatever way they're going to export things. And there's another little inlet just to the west of Yemen, whereby they could get it on ships and start selling it out. So now you have two little ports. The Strait of Hormuz is basically all but shut down again. You have this other port that is open, in which apparently Saudi Arabia has been able to get some of its oil out. So this is going to be a new one. People are going to learn a couple more names of some of these outlets coming up that'll become household names like the Strait of Hormuz. But again, if indeed Yemen shuts that down, they're going to be blockading more oil and causing more disturbance across the country, not just our country, but across the world.
And it's being reported now, too, that the U.S. has approved nearly $2 billion in weapons sales to Saudi Arabia as they fight Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi movement.
Well, and that's something. Again, who are our friends and who are our compadres, if you will. And Saudi Arabia is one that President Trump has been trying to get to sign the Abraham Accords for quite some time unsuccessfully. And this apparent help to Saudi Arabia is that, I mean, it's a big country compared to Yemen, which is just a fraction of the size of Saudi Arabia. So I think there's a little bit of, well, listen, if we help you out, maybe you'll come on our side, maybe you'll sign the Abraham Accords, and we'll give you some help.
So Hamas, are they silent, or do we have actual peace with Hamas now? What's happening with them? We saw that Iran, or rather Israel, putting up some barriers to stop an October 7th style thing from happening again. What's going on with Hamas? Have they laid down their weapons? Have they turned their weapons over?
Well, again, this is one of those things that I got to try not to get too excited about in a bad way, because quite frankly, everything that was stated about what was going to take place in Hamas, a fraction of it has actually come to pass. Hamas is, Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel now controls approximately 60% of Gaza, and he's trying to get up to 70%. When the, if you will, I mean, this was a major, major push by our country along with Israel. It was supposed to be a joint effort, that there was going to be this massive peace group put in place from around the world to control Gaza. Well, it hasn't happened. The arms aren't down. There's still every single day I'm reading reports of bombs going off, fighting going off in Gaza, which again is on the southwest side of Israel. So the October 7th attack, which happened now in 2023, we're several years away from that, and still there is, in my opinion, a minor progress in getting that terrorist group under control. It's not good.
Are they regrouping, building up weaponry again?
Well, absolutely. And again, if there's going to be strikes, and literally, I mean, if you watch certain news feeds out of Israel, there are strikes that are happening every single day. There's a regime change that actually is getting put in place there. They call it the Council of 69, that are going to be electing a new leadership in Hamas. That's going to be done supposedly within the next several days. So they are by no means been, if you will, made impotent. They are strong. They are rebuilding. And again, it's just shocking to me that we haven't put a little bit more effort into stopping that terrorist group. How are you going to stop Iran if you can't stop Hamas?
Yeah, indeed. And then, of course, there's Hezbollah to the north as well. And there's been talks about another nation, trying to control Hezbollah at the same time.
Right. So, again, you have Hamas, as we just talked about, to the south. Then you have Hezbollah to the north, coming out of Lebanon and part of Syria. And Israel still, I mean, every single day there's conflicts going on in Lebanon. So you look at America, you look at Israel. Israel is still fighting heavily in Lebanon and down on Hamas, which is very fortunate, I guess we can say at this point, that Israel is not being attacked by Iran. So at least that front is off the table for at least a small amount of time. But, I mean, Israel's got its hands full.
Friends, we're going to take a quick break and come back. We've talked more about not only what's happening in the Middle East, but what's happening here on the American side as well, specifically voting Congress recently on support for Israel or lack thereof, as well as a promise to, arrest the Prime Minister of Israel should he come to New York City. We'll be back in 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network. Pastor Richard Schmidt, our guest today, his website, prophecyfocus.org. Back in a minute.
As parents, we strategize and agonize. Our children bring indescribable joy, but there are also incredible challenges and sometimes heartbreak. We wish for secret formulas to raise and guide our children, but somewhere along the way we discover that what our kids need most is for God to do in their lives what only He can do. In the book, The 1 Year Praying Through the Bible for Your Kids, is designed to provide you with a daily dose of parenting perspective and hope. Day by day, you'll find yourself worrying less and praying more as your dreams and desire for your children is shaped by the Scriptures. This book guides you to let go of fear and expect God to work as you pray for your children. The 1 year Praying Through the Bible for Your Kids. Available for a donation of $20 when you call VCY America. 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. Pastor Richard Schmidt is with us today. He is pastor of Union Grove Baptist Church, Union Grove, Wisconsin, and also speaker on Prophecy Focus. prophecyfocus.org. You can watch his program at vcy.tv. It's ad-free, subscription-free. You can set up your free account at vcy.tv and look for Prophecy Focus. We were just talking about Hamas and kind of regrouping and certainly their continuous threat against Israel. And now, Pastor Schmidt, we have a Swiss newspaper that's reporting that Hamas has planned massive attacks across Europe in the style of what they did to Israel on October 7th.
Well, facetiously, I say shocking, not really. It's actually an excellent story when we look at what is taking place in Europe. I want to piggyback on that. It's the exact same thing that's taking place here in America, even though we're not talking about it like we are about what this particular story is. So what is the deal with the Islamic world? They are not looking at just taking over Israel and America. They're looking at taking over the world. This is a worldwide movement, if you will, to take over every single place that's known on this earth. So again, what we know is that for over a year that Hamas has been planning to put together this, if you will, invasion into Europe and take it over, just like they did October 7th, caused some serious damage to people. And is it surprising? Not at all, because that is what jihad is. That is what Sharia law is. That is what Islam is trained to do. So again, my respect, I want to be cautious because I know there's potentially some of our Muslim friends listening even as we speak that they may not subscribe to Sharia law. They may not subscribe to the jihadist thing. And I feel sorry for those that are caught up in this. But we just got to be honest. Those that are in power, they're going to be going after what the Quran asks them to do, which is get rid of the infidels, which is anyone that's not subscribing to Islam. And to have these terror attacks being lined up in Europe, there's many cells, and multiple FBI directors that we've gone to have made it very clear that same exact scenario is sitting right here in the United States. It's just a matter if it ever gets activated.
Well, and it's frightening to see what is taking place across our nation right now. And we'll be talking more about this. But just yesterday in Crosstalk, I shared the story of 3 Democratic candidates for governor here in the state of Wisconsin that were asked the question if they would veto any anti-Sharia legislation for Wisconsin, and they said that they would not allow that. They would veto such legislation, and we're seeing the growth take place. They call it social democrats. We will see the red-green axis, but there is this rising movement that is trying to promote the very essence of Sharia, the very essence of Islam, all across the United States.
Yes, it's very, very concerning. And again, people that are listening, they may say, well, shouldn't we be an inclusive type country? Shouldn't we allow anything is okay in America? Well, folks, what we really need to boil this down to is we have this false sense of security that it doesn't matter what religion, what philosophy is in place, that we should endorse it. Well, folks, when you're looking at those that literally part of the agenda is to wipe out Christianity, it's to wipe out anything opposing Islam, what is slowly happening, and boy, we've got our head in the sand, is they are slowly building up power, slowly gaining a hold of government agencies, they're slowly moving into communities, and what? Eventually it's going to turn into exactly what's happening in New York, where Islam becomes dominant. There's massive anti-Semitism, there's massive push for socialism, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen in our country right now, and we are asleep at the wheel.
Yes, and sadly, this is not just the United States, but this anti-Semitism is really going around the world. And the thrust of Islam, the Jerusalem Post just reported that in Australia, anti-Semitism has passed the point of no return.
Well, and that's something. And again, when you go back to the Bondi Beach incident, which is the one that really got the attention in Australia, now people are seeing this. It is and again, I constantly want a caveat in this. It's like, if you are a Muslim and listening today, God bless you. I want you to come to Christ. I want your heart to be changed. And I wish not a single Muslim ill will. I want them to come to Christ. But they've been indoctrinated in this particular religion that basically is doing exactly what the Australians are facing right now. It's dangerous, it's violent, it's strong, and if something isn't done to stop this movement, it's going to overtake everything that we currently hold dear.
And it goes beyond religion. I mean, there's a whole political system afoot.
Well, that political system comes right out of the religion. Again, that is the biggest thing. Our government, at least up to this point, I think they're starting to wake up a little bit based on some of the things the president is saying. I want to give a shout out to Marco Rubio, because he has been warning about these things for years. He's spot on when it comes to this issue. So we can only hope that our government gets a clue here and moves in the right direction.
So let's talk what's happening in the United States. Last Wednesday, 103 Democrats in the U.S. House voted in support of an amendment to block aid to Israel. Just 2 years ago, when such a vote was had, it was 37 votes. That was 37 votes. Now it's 103.
Well, again, let's go right back to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. I will bless those who bless Israel. I will curse those who curse Israel. Many of us in the Christian community have stated this unequivocally, that our love for Israel and the Jewish people probably plays a lot with the Lord as far as allowing our country to continue in a positive way. And I believe that, and you hear some people, and I hate even to say the names, but Candace Owen and Tucker Carlson, that have basically said, well, Israel is no longer in view in God's eyes. I want to address that very quickly, because here's the thing. During the church age in which we live now, he is absolutely right on one point. God is no respecter of person. Whether you're Jew or Gentile, all are called to come to Christ. However, when you read your Bible, what is going to take place after the church age ends at the rapture of the church and we go into the tribulation and the millennial time? It all reverts back to the Jewish people. So not understanding Bible, not understanding how God is going to unfold his plan in eschatology or the end times is causing horrific damage even among Christians.
Another big issue right now, we have the mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani. He has spoken openly many, many times about arresting Israel's prime minister should he come to speak at the UN headquarters right there in New York City. And I'd like to just air a recent clip as he was interviewed by The Telegraph and was pressed on this very matter. Listen in.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is perhaps planning to visit New York for the UN General Assembly. You pledged during your campaign and after you won to order his arrest to comply with the International Criminal Court warrant. What will happen if he comes in September?
Look, I believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu belongs in The Hague. He's a war criminal who has been charged by the International Criminal Court. And what you will find is that is an opinion that is held by many purely because of what his actions have wrought over these last many years. I've also said that I will follow the laws that we have here in New York City because I believe that there's an importance in following the law as a leader who presides over our city, and that's something that I plan to do.
Meaning? I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means.
Meaning that whatever the law allows me to do in New York City, that's what we will do, but we won't be writing our own laws to that end.
What does the law allow you to do?
That's an active conversation with our legal department in seeing what the prospects are we have here in our municipality. However, what we've seen at the national level is a desire sometimes to write your own laws, to go outside of the bounds of legality. That's not something we have an interest in.
I mean, normally when people come to a UN General Assembly, they're granted a sort of amnesty because it is the seat of the United Nations. Is that what you're thinking that you'll honor, or you're actively looking to see if you can actually arrest him?
I think we are looking at all of our legal obligations, and one of them is with regards to the United Nations. But the other part of this is we're not talking about a personal assessment of Benjamin Netanyahu. We're talking about the International Criminal Court and the fact that they have a warrant out for this prime minister's arrest. And I think it's important to talk about the weight that has as a charge, and also that as the mayor of New York City, I'll be following the laws of New York City.
Let's go round and around the mulberry bush here. I mean, the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction over the United States, Pastor.
It has zero jurisdiction over the United States. Let's be straightforward. Mr. Mondami, the mayor of New York, is simply grandstanding. He's making a very strong statement, which, of course, none of it's going to come to pass because the federal government won't allow it to come to pass. But he's making it clear. I'm a Muslim. I'm a socialist. I'm going to run New York the way I believe I want to run it. I'm going to go against whatever I can go against that doesn't match up with his beliefs. Let's just be straightforward. That's exactly what he's saying. So, again, he can play games with, I'm going to do what's legal. And let's just be honest, it's all politics. So is Benjamin Netanyahu going to be arrested in New York? Well, the answer is absolutely positively no. The federal government will protect him. He does have diplomatic immunity if he does show up within our country. And again, here's the issue. When you start talking to millions of people that are buying into socialism and communism and eventually, or Marxism and communism, he is exactly that. He's pushing an agenda. My great fear is, now, first of all, none of what he said is going to come to pass at this time. But you say something long enough and hard enough and with enough conviction, and all of a sudden you start to change the course of the American politics. That's my concern.
Senator Fetterman of Pennsylvania was also asked about his Mamdani statement. Here's what he said. This was on Fox.
Thoughts here on Mamdani threatening to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to the U.S.?
It's such a tough guy to say that kind of thing. He has no way to do that. Of course, obviously, America's not even part of that corrupt court. And so he's just a clown to even say that. So he won't try that. And I'll just sit down and focus on the problems that they have in New York. That's really not your purview. You and I know that. Sit down.
Yeah. Just sit down.
Well, I'll tell you, and it's really funny because many of us conservative, the Christian community, when Mr. Fetterman first came out, quite frankly, we weren't real impressed with him. And now all of a sudden, I'm going to go, if I could, I'm going to go have coffee with him and see if we can talk him into joining the Republican team, because he's preaching our stuff right now. He's saying what many of us want to hear, and I believe he believes it. He's very strong on what he's saying. So
and he has said if his party goes against Israel, he is going to change party affiliation.
Well, come on over, brother. Not that I'm endorsing a political party right now, but I would like him to come to the conservative side because that's definitely the way he's leaning. And I applaud what he said, and I won't repeat what he said in quite the same way he did, but I appreciate his words. I'll put my name to it.
Friends, we're going to take a quick break, and let's open some phone lines. If you have a question or that you'd like to ask of our guest today, or a brief comment, our phone number 800-733-9829. That's 1-800-733-9829. You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. The book of Revelation, chapter 18, describes Babylon as the center of global commerce. Well, guess what, folks? The prime minister of Iraq was just in the Oval Office last week, and on Friday, the Iraqi government, they signed agreements worth $60 billion. This comes from American corporations. And guess what they're going to do, folks? They're going to develop all kinds of things related to healthcare, infrastructure, defense, communications. But they're also going to be, enabling Iraq have its oil reach world markets without having to go through the waters that Iran, has made a choke point. This is amazing, folks. And in fact, it is showing that what's going to happen in Iran is going to allow it to become perhaps one of the biggest producers of oil in the world. Stay tuned. The Bible is true.
With us today on Crosstalk, Pastor Richard Schmidt from Union Grove Baptist Church, also a student of Bible prophecy and teacher of it as well. Prophecyfocus.org is his website, his program Prophecy Focus, and on television you can see it at vcy.tv. Anywhere across the country you can see it at vcy.tv. Just set up your free account there and look for Prophecy Focus. Just before we do pick up our first call, though, we are seeing so many anti-Semitic events taking place. How disgusting, just recently, a vandal hurling motor oil and feces at a pair of synagogues in Queens, New York. This is just a microcosm of what's taking place, not only in New York City, that's growing under the current mayor, but sadly in places across the country.
Well, it truly is. It's horrible what's taking place. In fact, many of our folks probably listening get or at least listen to or read the Jerusalem Post today, literally before we went on the air. It's talking about a massive amount of cases worldwide that are happening. 384 cases in the last year involving missing persons, 292 arrests of Israeli citizens, 196 Israelis hospitalized abroad for being basically hurt.
Targeted, yeah.
Yes, 149 rescue operations from dangerous areas. In other words, getting Jews extracted. 23 Israelis involved in other disasters. So, I mean, the numbers are high. The Anti-Defamation League, of course, keeps very accurate statistics on what's taking place with anti-Semitism. And even though there's been a little bit of a downtrend since 23 and 24, after the horrible incidents began to rack up with the Hamas incident and many, many protests and the Palestinian groups and the college campuses really exacerbated it. So that's died down some. But internationally as well as domestically, anti-Semitism is still a major issue.
We have Andreas calling from New Mexico. Hi, Andreas. You're on the air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. And my comment is we need to stand beside Israel all the time, at all costs, because as Christians, we have no other choice but that. And this big anti-Semitism all over the world, that new movement that's going on and starting in New York and all over, we won't go into that because it's different, kind of a more in-depth on that. But no, we have to stand with Israel at all times, at all costs, and period.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas. Give me your comment, because does this mean Israel does everything perfect?
No, unfortunately, Israel doesn't do everything perfect. But again, God made it very clear that if they are disobedient, he'll take care of it. It's not our job, if you will, to inflict punishment or discipline on our fellow Jewish people.
We have Mark calling in from Tucson, Arizona. Mark, you're on the air.
Yeah, my comment is Mike Johnson mentioned the other day that if we don't get our voting act together, you're going to have all these mini Mamdanis propping up all over the country. And you can see how that's going to affect things in the long run.
Yeah.
But my main concern, though, is the lack of discernment amongst government officials, citizens, and even a good part of the church when it comes to preventing Islam throughout the country. So that's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Any thoughts?
Well, thanks, Mark. And, of course, I 100% agree with you. The Christian community, statistically, a massive amount of Christians did not vote in the last election, even though we had a successful election, if you will, from a conservative standpoint. But, yes, we've got to do our part. And if we don't vote, we're just putting up with whatever happens. Also, this issue of discernment is huge. Understanding what is out there, what needs to be done, and how to deal with it. I mean, that's a whole program in itself.
Linda in Tennessee, you're on the air.
Hello. I just wanted to say that I really greatly appreciate Dr. Smith and listening to him with Dr. David Carr, that's with King of Kings Radio Network, that's been with programming also coming in here to Tennessee area. And just want to say that, Iran has said for over 47 years, death to America, and we're the great Satan, and they want to overcome us in their attempts. So I'm just so thankful, for President Trump and Pete Hegseth and these others that are willing to defend our country and defend all the citizens and help in the time of need that we have, and when others wouldn't take the step forward, to help our country. And I know that we're really needing prayer. We're needing God's help and His ways.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Well, Linda, thanks so much for what you said, and God bless David Carr and King of Kings. He's just a wonderful friend. Love him, and out of Somerset, Kentucky. But your comments on Iran and what they've been stating, are spot on. They hate America. They hate the Jewish people. And yes, we need to stand against that.
Thank you, Linda. Randy in Dodgeville, Wisconsin, you're on the air.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jim, it was a great week last week at camp. Appreciate you being there. My comment is, early on, just shortly after Donald Trump became the 47, he was making comments about how much oil we have in the U.S. and that we have a great abundance, and that the Mideast would not, or Venezuela and all the other places, if we just used our oil, we'd be okay. What happened? Did we lose it? And then the other thing I've got is Hamas and Israel. I know the current administration is putting pressure on the Israelis to hold back on their dealing with the Hamas. I really feel Israel's got to go in and get it done.
Okay, thank you, Randy. We're down to 30 seconds. Pastor Schmidt.
Well, I wish we had more time, but here's the issue. We do not have enough of the proper type of oil that we can process in America. We can only supply about 60 to 70% based on our current refineries. Yes, we have a massive amount of oil, but we are literally selling it off to other countries because we do not have the proper refineries to handle the light crude oil which America produces. So that's a huge issue. The bottom line is this has been a wonderful time to look at what is happening around the world. The focus ought to be this. Listen, folks, if we're walking with Christ, if we're evangelizing, we can have a massive effect on our country as well as the world if we will simply get out the gospel and fight that which is wrong with the truth, that Jesus Christ is the only answer.
Amen. Amen. Pastor Schmidt, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Friends, the website, prophecyfocus.org. Indeed, let's pray, let's be salt, let's be light.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.